Thank you. So, thank you for the opportunity to tell you a bit about Williams and what we're doing, both in Formula One and outside of Formula One. So I wanted to share with you to start with a bit of a video about the history of Williams. So I'm hoping that we're going to see that in a moment. If we could have the sound.
Williams team, 6 of them here for Alan Jones. Mansell wins the 1992 British Grand Prix. Exits the chicane and wins the Japanese Grand Prix. And I've got to stop because I've got a lump in my throat.
Okay, ready to go. Just all on green.
Oxygen, it fixes you.
So I really like that video. I like to start with it to show you a bit about who we are. 41 years ago, one man's vision was to take on the big teams and try to beat them. And he did. So 16 world championships, a huge number of race wins. Been a little more difficult more recently. If you're watching Formula One at the moment, you'll know that things are tough for Williams right now. But we have the people, the technology to get us back to the front of the grid, and that's really what we're aiming to do. That's the challenge for us. But today I wanted to talk to you about some of the things we're doing outside of Formula One. So our Formula One team takes the knowledge and know-how that we have around lightweight materials, aerodynamics, race engineering, real-time data analytics, and we apply that into other industries. We work with customers. And that's not as well known as our Formula One team and what we're doing inside Formula One. And so we take that technology that we're really good at, changing a car every couple of weeks, changing the whole of the Formula One vehicle every season, adapting to new regulations, very similar to a lot of the business challenges that you'll have in your organizations. And we apply that into other industries. And I'm going to share a couple of them with you today and tell you a little bit about what we're doing. But I thought I'd start, when we talk about what we're doing outside of Formula One, let's go back right to the beginning. It seems like an odd picture to put up. If you're a Williams fan for a long time, you'll know that this is quite early in the history of the team. Started in 1977 and for about 5 years had this kind of branding. This is actually the 1979 car. And the reason it's significant is because it's the first connected car. So we had a data logger on that car, 64K. So for most of the young people in the audience, you won't even know what 64K is. But back then, it was a big deal, right? And then 10 years later, so in 1989, it was a 256K data logger. Again, most of the young people in the room won't know how small that is. On my phone that I've got more memory than the car had back then. So in those 10 years, that's how slow the technology changed in terms of that on-car electronics. But we were starting to get much more sophisticated about the data we collected. And when you think about what we're collecting from road cars these days, this is where it started way back then. And then in the 1990s, the data exploded. I came into Formula One 21 years ago. In 1997, all of the data fitted on a floppy disk. Again, I realize I'm dating myself. Young people are thinking, what's a floppy disk? About 1 meg, right? So both cars' data, and there was some spare space on a meg. I think we generate a meg one car before the first corner these days. That's how we're generating about 400 gig of data per race. A lot of that is video as well now in Formula One. But we're also applying it into our other customers, as you can see there. The 2015 Jaguar CX-75 car that we built for them was a hybrid supercar that they wanted the performance of a Bugatti Veyron, the emissions of a Toyota Prius, and the range of a Chevrolet Volt. And that's the challenge that was set for us. And we met that with the CX-75. So on the Formula One car, about 1,000 channels of data that we're capturing every second. We're then adding to that car telemetry data, weather data, track temperature, tire data, everything we can learn about our competitors, voice, video, all in near real time. I don't like to talk about real time. If you work for a financial institution, you're really working sub-second, you're working in real time. We can get away with a couple of seconds, really, when it comes to collecting data. And we're combining lots of these parameters to turn them into information that help us to make decisions about the car. And as the race goes on, we have a line that moves across the page. Everything to the left of the line is what's already happened, and everything to the right of the line is what we're going to predict. What we're going to predict for our competitors as well as our cars. And as something happens, there's an accident or a safety car, we start to make compromises and changes and make decision-making based on that real-time information. And the quicker we can be with that real-time information, and when I talk a little bit about AI later on, I'll explain to you what we think we're going to get to in terms of that real-time becoming, never mind 10, 15, 20 seconds, can we get that down to sub-seconds like many of you are doing? So we've got all this instrumentation on the car. Last year for the first time, or last season for the first time, we started to put instrumentation on the humans. So the human performance is just as important to us as the vehicle. And so we wanted to get our pit stop crew. In 2013, we were the slowest crew. We wanted to get them up to being at a respectable time. And actually what we did, I'm going to show you on this video, which is next. So what we did is we went from 3.5 seconds in 2013 to 1.92 seconds. We set the world record time for Formula One, changing 4 tires in 1.92 seconds. And you saw some of the video there. It's incredible when you see all of the mechanics around the car just working synchronized, getting those tires changed. But actually, although it's a relatively silly thing, changing tires on a Formula One car, we've taken a lot of the learnings that we've learned over the years in Formula One, and we've applied it into other industries. We had midwives from the University Hospital of Wales come and visit Williams, come and work with our pit crew, and they took the lessons that they learned from Formula One around all of the communication, how you lay out the car, the tools that all of the mechanics need. They took all of that process and procedure and how we orchestrate a pit stop, and they took that learning back into the maternity ward. And so when a baby's born prematurely and they're having to deal with saving that baby's life, they're using the lessons that they learned in Formula One around pit stops and applying it into that. And I think that's pretty cool compared to our day job, which is just to go racing around a track. Applying some of these technologies into other things is really interesting. And so that brings me to Williams Advanced Engineering. I have another video that I want to show you because there's a James Bond car in it, and I'm contractually obliged whenever I do a presentation to talk about the fact that a Williams car was featured in a James Bond movie. So let me show you a little bit about what Williams Advanced Engineering does.
At Williams Advanced Engineering, we bring the same advantage to our customers and the world as our cars. We do this by thinking differently, looking to the future, with rapid innovation, to produce inspired engineering that enables a sustainable future. Williams Advanced Engineering. Advantage engineered.
So some of the technology you saw there that I'm not going to go into much detail because we don't have a lot of time today Karen Dark, Paralympic athlete, we built the hand bike that she used in the Rio Olympics. The baby pod that you saw someone carrying is used in hospitals to help babies. In retail, we've built technology that helps to keep fridges, keep the cold air in the fridge, not leaking out into the aisle. But I really wanted to just focus on a couple of things that are relevant to our conversation today. Electrification, really important. The hybrid Formula One car has been like that for a long time. And so we've taken that knowledge and applied it into the Jaguar CX-75 that got used in the Bond film. You saw a brief snippet there of that copper-colored car. But we've taken what we know, applied it into racing. So the Formula E electric series is using Williams batteries throughout the series. And we've taken that technology, shrunk it down into a pedelec and used it on an electric bicycle for Brompton, for example. And we've just won an award from Her Majesty the Queen for innovation around what we've done with our battery technology by applying it into all sorts of other areas. One of the things I like is the second life. So this actually, although it doesn't look like it, is a battery from a Nissan Leaf. So when it comes to the end of life in the Leaf, we take it out, put it into this unit, bolt it onto the side of a house, connect it to a solar panel, and it'll run your house overnight with the electricity that's generated. So giving batteries second life, which I really like. Autonomous vehicles, we've got into a project. We've done a couple of things now with simulators. So we're very good at simulators in Formula One, and we've applied this into mapping out a whole city and running autonomous vehicles plus legacy vehicles, as they're often referred to, and what will happen if someone steps out into the road, if a public transport vehicle comes into the road, how do you avoid it? And we've been working on that. And we also partnered with Thales to look at the security of autonomous vehicles. It's something that I hope that people are talking about over the couple of days here. Certainly at the other conferences that I've been to, there's been a lot of focus on how do you protect that vehicle. Well, that's exactly what we've done in Formula One. We've put as much effort into protecting the vehicle from changes over the air to make sure that nobody can get onto it, apply brakes, and make changes to the car while the drivers are driving around the track. You have to plug a cable into the car in order to make changes to it, to download a new configuration. But we've got to look at that challenge in terms of road cars, where you may not be able to bring it back into the dealership in order to make a change to it. We already see that Tesla make over-the-air changes to their cars constantly. Where are the challenges for other car manufacturers as we go forward? And then in terms of the artificial intelligence challenge for us in Formula One, where we think that we're going to be able to apply this, I don't know if you can hear that. So that was the voice of a human calling in another human for a pit stop, right? So come into the box. We think that very soon, and we're doing trials already, very soon that will be initially a machine learning, automation, get the human to make the right decision more frequently, but ultimately we're looking to replace the human in that decision-making process so that we can make the right decision more frequently. And the trials that we're doing show that the technology is there and is maturing, but it's whether the human engineers are going to allow us to make those changes and remove them from the decision-making process. There was a very good example in the last couple of races with one of our competitors, Mercedes, where their driver, Lewis Hamilton, did not come into the pits because they had 10 seconds to make a decision. Virtual safety car was called. He was coming around the second to last corner. They needed to make that decision within 10 seconds, and they didn't. What we hope that with AI is we'd be able to make that decision within a second. The right thing to do is to pit, tell the driver, job done. So they didn't win the race on the basis that they didn't have that information ready in time. So that's one of the things that we're going to focus on, how we can use AI for pit stopping. The other thing we want to do is replace the man there in the outline, our team manager who wrote the rule book. He's got the whole rule book in his head. We want to be able to replace that person and use an AI engine to make sure that we understand what the stewards are going to determine when something goes wrong out on the track, or when one of our competitors do something that we're not happy with and we want to make an appeal. We're going to use AI to help us with the rule book and remove the human from that decision-making process. And then other things within Formula One manufacturing. Our Factory of the Future project that we're working on is really around how do we connect design, aerodynamics, manufacturing, race engineering all together and introduce automation in that. So when on a Friday at a racetrack you see a part break on the car, there's video analytics that show that if we've got a machine back at base building another part for the next race, the machine should make the decision to stop, wait to see what happens with that part. Does it get redesigned and then start to make the correct part so that we reduce the amount of waste that we've got in terms of our manufacturing, where we'll make things that don't make it to the car because Formula One is changing so quickly. So that's just a flavor for what we're doing. because of time, we're not able to continue into great detail. But there's a lot of excitement around Formula One because as a platform, we can rapidly iterate and we can bring technology on a Friday, test it. If it works, it stays. If it doesn't, we remove it. So there's a lot so the companies out there who are looking to work in AI and blockchain and automation and all of these new technologies that are coming through, look at Formula One because I think we can help develop the technologies. Thank you very much.